Since no gun-type assembly had been detonated since the Hiroshima bomb, the weapons development scientists had on this shot their first opportunity to study the nucleonic behavior and fireball configuration of such a device.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and another one of our little 1/72nd scale armor sort of reviews. I'm not 100% sure if this is die-cast or if it's plastic resin kind of material, but we will find out once we open it. Now, this is by a Dragon Armor, of course, and this does look amazing in the pictures I've seen. I haven't got to take it out of the box yet, but boy, this is a very unusual item here. It is the M65 atomic cannon, also nicknamed Atomic Annie, and this was an artillery gun built by the US in the early 50s that was capable of firing a nuclear warhead. Yes, a nuclear goddamn warhead. Now, built out the beginning of the Cold War, these cannons were deployed in West Germany, South Korea, and Japan between 1955 to 1962. Now, the M65 fired its first W9 nuclear shell in testing in 1953, which resulted in a 15 kiloton detonation. It would be the only time a nuclear cannon would be fired, though. Now, after these successful tests, around 20 of these cannons were produced, but not long after its deployment around the world, missile and rocket technology would ultimately effectively make this type of weapon obsolete. Now, several of these survive today on display in various locations around the US. Now, this is quite light, so I've got a sneaking suspicion. Oh, this is probably resin, so there's not a lot of weight to the box, but let us have a little look. Oh, wow. I don't care if it's made out of cotton wool. This thing bloody looks awesome. Oh, that's sweet. I can't. Oh, we got to get this out. How? All right. So it is very well protected. Obviously, there's going to be a few components because it's pretty much a massive cannon carried by two sort of trucks or tractors. Oh, man, that looks awesome. I better get it all out first. We'll get it all out first before we start going off. Right, let's open there. Oh, yeah. All right, it's nice and easy to sort of get out, which is good. So there is a lot of detail, just what I've seen quickly. Now for the cannon. Man, imagine firing this thing, firing a nuclear warhead from a cannon. All right, let's move this out of the way. We'll just place this here for a moment and move the box out of the way. My God, this does look absolutely amazing. All right, so obviously, so you've got your tractor. That has got a lot of detail. Check out that. That is really insane, the amount of detail on this. The wheels. No, they don't move, but I don't care. But those of you that do care, well, I'm sorry to say that they don't move, but the level of detail on this, Jesus. So be careful of the little mirrors on the side here, because I'm sure they would be easy to break, and there's a lot of small little bits sticking out, so be very, very careful. Check out all the detail of underneath it. Oh my God. Oh, that is nuts. That looks absolutely sweet. Yep. All right, so we'll grab the other tractor. And that is the other end of it. And that looks amazing as well. So there is a lot of detail there. That is mad. Wow. That is crazy good. Check out the detail there. All right. We'll put that bit there. All right, now for the cannon. Wow. All right, let's have a little look. Look at those details. Now, because there's so much going on with this particular model, I'll do the photos at the end. So you would have noticed there was no photos at the start of the video like we normally do with our 1/72nd scale armor and stuff like that. There is a lot of pictures that I would like to take to put this on. So we're going to do the normal sort of style and have the photos at the end, so you can see a lot of this detail without my hands all over it. this does look absolutely insane. Now, it is that plastic, so it is fairly light, but the level of detail, oh my God, that is nuts. Look at that. Oh, crazy. Oh, man. So the setup. All right, let's have fun with the setup. We'll zoom out a fraction, and we'll try and do the setup. So I'm assuming it does go in here on this truck like that. And then there's a smaller piece that's got to go in here. So, oh, that all moves, so it makes the alignment a little bit easier for you. Oh, it does. Oh, mate, this is cool. How insane does that look? That looks... I am really glad I pulled the trigger on this. So this, it all turns. You can move it around. But this is just crazy. The whole actual invention of this is crazy. Just imagine the guy firing the cannon, firing a nuclear warhead somewhere. So, but I reckon this is absolutely nuts. I bought it just for the pure fact of that it looks so interesting. I really didn't care what medium it was made out of, whether it was plastic, metal, or whatever. But this does look absolutely insane. So if you're into something different, something like this, don't have an issue with pulling the trigger on this. It looks fantastic, but just it's not cheap. I cannot recall how much I paid for it, but it wasn't a cheap sort of model. So be prepared to pay a little bit of money for it. But it is going to be a centerpiece for any sort of armor or vehicle display you're going to have. But yeah, I'll do the usual. I'll do the photos at the end, as I mentioned earlier, and chuck them out there. Sausage finger test, as you can see, look, it's not a small model either, so it is quite large. Actually, someone's probably going to ask me how long it is, so what we'll do is we'll just get a measurement now. So that is, well, for you Americans, it is 14 inches. But for me, it is a 36 centimeters. Yeah, that is nice and long. So yeah, if you're into your measurements, that's how big that is. But as I said, I am really impressed with it. It's something right out there. So really, it is the epitome of the Cold War era. Some of the things that both the US and the Soviets were trying to best each other at. But yeah, I reckon it does look fantastic. All right, I will wind up the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget some of those my way, of course. And always feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're watching and you haven't. Don't forget, drop a comment below if you feel like saying anything about this or anything at all. And I'll finish by saying thank you very much for dropping past. I hope you enjoyed this very unusual model today. So thanks for watching, and thank God Atomic Annie was never used in a battle. All right, you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Cheers, everyone.